Shabbat Shalom. It's good to be with you. Cantor Paul is in Africa. Just got pictures that he sent today that said this is not a zoo. These are real pictures and real animals that they've been. So he's on safari. So he's not able to be with us this Shabbat. I know that some of you were here last week with Cantor Jonathan Friedman, who filled in for both of us because I was at camp and he was already safariing. So it's good to be with all of you today. And I did get back from 2 weeks at camp, and that was really wonderful. And we have some campers who just went up to camp and are there for the next couple of weeks as well. And it's good to see some faces of people who haven't seen for a while, either because they're congregants who live elsewhere or congregants who have been traveling for the last year. Welcome back, Dina. It's good to see you, and to be with all of you. So we're going to begin with Shalom Aleichem, which you will find on page 24. I always say when Cantor Paul's not here, that just means you all have to sing and help support me as we go through the services. Thank you, Ethel. I was about to say, while I can sing, I am not the cantor. So yes, there we go. Shalom Aleichem, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. We're going to turn to pages 2 and 3. I'll invite everybody who's comfortably able to do so to please rise. I'd like to invite, where'd they sit, David and Ethel? Right there, right in front of me. David and Ethel Steinberger to help us kindle our Shabbat lights. As David and Ethel come up, let's all read together on top of page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Light? Let's all join in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Hold on. Yes, but we're waiting for David to finish lighting again. There we go. Okay. Lighting my thing. There you go.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. We are going to continue in a moment on page 20 with Lecha Dodi. But before we move into Lecha Dodi, it is our custom at TBI to take a moment and pause and maybe take a breath. I know I need one. And to be able to reflect on the week that has just passed. So we take just a couple of moments in silence to go back to last Shabbat. Pause on each day, its challenges and its blessings, and then we'll come back together for Lecha Dodi. We'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to verse 9, those who can comfortably do so, I invite you to rise and face the doors from which we entered to welcome the Shabbat presence, the Nishama Yetera, the extra soulfulness that travels with us during Shabbat, into the congregation and into our hearts. For those of you who are joining us online, you can turn towards the doors of your home to welcome the Shabbat into your home. Lecha Dodi. La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likrat Kala. La 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likrat Kala. La 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmi'anu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'litchilah. Lai, 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 yalla la 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 Lecha Dodi. Yalla la 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 Likrat Kala. Yalla la 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 Pnei Shabbat. P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava techila ya lai lai ya la 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 lai lecha dodi ya la 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 likrat kala ya la 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 p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Verse 5 hitoreri kiva orech kumiori shedaberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla ya lai lai ya la 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 lecha dodi ya la 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 likrat kala ya la 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 p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Rise if you can comfortably do so. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uvtzola toch emunei am segula boi chala ya la la ya la 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 lecha dodi ya la 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 likrat kala ya la 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 p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Ya la 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 lecha dodi ya la 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 likrat kala ya la 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 p'nei Shabbat nikabela. If you're able to, please remain standing. We'll continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgadal shemei Rabbah B'alma divrach irute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivorach le'olam ulomei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudisha v'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushpechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma Veimeru, amen. Page 28, Baruch Hu, our call to prayer. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Last three lines in the Hebrew on page 30. El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Haravim. Page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Last four lines in the Hebrew on page 32. Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu leolamim baruch ata Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. I'd like to invite Asher Baker to come on up, help us to lead 2 weeks. Is that right? 2 weeks till we celebrate Shir's bar mitzvah, and so getting a little bima practice time here today. So she's going to lead us first in reading the Shema, and then we'll all sing it together. I invite those of you who are comfortably able to do so to please rise. She's going to read Shema Israel. Just reading. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. You may be seated. We continue with Ve'ahavta, page 36. 1, 2, 3.
Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anohi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinamtam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvletecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvish'arecha leman tizkeru v'ansitem et kol mitzvotai v'yetem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeet yetchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem. Amen. We turn to page 12. Sorry, what did I say? 12. Page 40. It's number 12 on my sheet here, but it's page 40. For Mi Chamocha, our song of freedom. We are in a time in our calendar where we are moving from a place. I'll talk a little bit about this when I teach in a little while, but we just came out of Tisha B'Av, which is a holiday on the Jewish calendar, which is kind of represents the most of our brokenness. It's the time we commemorate the destruction of both temples, but perhaps if we were thinking of it in a personal, spiritual way, we're reminded that we all have our own brokenness in our lives, and we live in a broken world. And then we have 7 weeks of consolation that go from Tisha B'Av to Rosh Hashanah. And of course, 7 is a number of renewal and of blessing in Jewish life. Literally with the Sheva Brachot that are at a wedding, but also with the 7th day of the week being the Sabbath, where the world comes into its greatest fulfillment. And so we move from this place of brokenness to this place of wholeness. And in many ways, Mi Chamocha is also a symbol of that journey, right? From Me'avdut to Cherut, from slavery to freedom. It's one of the signposts along the way where we can recognize the miracles that surround us, and in doing so, begin to climb to a place of wholeness. Mi Chamocha, our song of freedom, page 40. Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yai die 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 Mi chamocha bailim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar bakodesh norat hilot Osei fele, osei fele Malchutcha ra'u vanecha Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Malchutcha ra'u vanecha Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yai dai 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 Zezeli anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch leolam leolam va'er yada dai yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yai dai 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 V'ne'emar ki v'ad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 Gal Yisrael Amen 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 Each night we ask that we can lie down with a sense of wholeness, with a sense of shalom, and v'ha'amidenu l'chaim, and that we may rise up to life each day with a sense of purpose. So we ask God to shelter us with the shelter of peace, to give us a sense of peace in our lives and a sense of purpose in our lives. Hashkivenu, page 42. We sing the beginning, and then we sing the indented text, which is sort of toward the bottom of the page. Yeah, go ahead. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom vehamidenu shomreinu. Can we go back, Randy? Baruch atah Adonai. Can we go back to there? Sukkot shalom ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Sorry about that. It is, except when my eyes wander, yeah. Vishamru. We continue on page 44, the top of the page, as we give thanks for Shabbat, for this opportunity we have each week to take a breath, to connect to each other, to our community, to the Holy One, and think about what it is for you to take just to take time, right? To take a pause. It says in Vishamru at the end, it says Shabbat vayinafash. We rest, and I like to read vayinafash. It's generally translated as we were refreshed, but our nefesh is our soul. I like to think it's like we get resouled on Shabbat. And it's an opportunity for us to feel that and to take that time. Vishamru. Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ברית עולם. Dr. Polivoy is going to give an introduction in just a moment to the music he'll share with us after the Amidah. And once he gives us that introduction, then I'll invite Asher back up, and he will lead us in our Amidah beginning on page 46.
Shabbat Shalom. Nice to see so many faces. It's nice to be back after a break here. Well, I'm sure all of you, if you have been watching and hearing the news out of Israel lately, it's been quite upsetting what's going on, all of the stress, the strife, the divisiveness with the government, but I won't get into that's a whole political discussion I'm not going to even touch upon. Maybe the rabbi will go into it today, but when I was thinking about a piece to play, obviously my mind kind of went back to the theme of peace, which is something we all need, but particularly in the situation with Israel right now. So I will be playing, of course, Osei Shalom. This is a setting by Debbie Friedman. Many of you have heard it before. We typically sing it during the high holidays and interspersed throughout the year. From 2007, so it's relatively a late work of Debbie Friedman towards the end of her life, which was she passed in 2011. So of course the translation, may the one who makes peace in the high heavens makes peace for us, for all Israel, and all who inhabit the earth. And so we say, Amen.
Turn to page 46. If you're comfortably able to do so, I invite you to rise.
Adonai, Sephai 5 Tita, Ufia Gita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, V'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, V'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, V'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chazdei Avot v'Imahot, V'Mei Bigula Livnei V'Neihem, L'Ma'an Shemo B'Hava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magan, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham,
Bezrat Sarah. Page 50.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים וזוכר חולים, ומתיר אסורים. מקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך. מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני.
Mechaye Hakol. Page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please continue silently with the text of your heart or the words of the Siddur through page 62, 63. When you're through, you may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. This is a unique Shabbat on the Jewish calendar. It's actually called Shabbat Nachamu, which means the Sabbath of consolation. And it's because Tisha B'Av was this week, and we have 3 special Shabbatot that lead into Tisha B'Av, sort of leading into the valley of darkness, so to speak. And then 7 that come out, maybe telling us a little bit about our spiritual selves too, about how much quicker we can fall into the darkness than it takes us to climb out of it. So often in our own lives, it takes a lot more work to come out of our despair than to get into it. And this weekend, we're supposed to emphasize messages of hope and of healing. And yet, I must tell you that my heart is burdened with the continuing challenges we are witnessing in my beloved land of Israel. This week, the government of Israel, which is politically the most right-wing government that has existed in Israel's history, passed a bill that limits the Supreme Court from using something called reasonableness as a criteria for striking down Israeli laws or cabinet appointments. Can't go deeply into this. I'll do it in a class or at another time. We're actually going to schedule a session, not next week, but probably the beginning of the week after with Gary Gilbert, who will do a Zoom session from Israel. He's been in Israel at the Albright Institute doing archaeology for this month. But Israel has no constitution, no real system of checks and balances. Because it's a parliamentary system, the government and the legislature are really, in certain ways, the same thing, meaning if you're in the government, it means that you have a majority in the legislature and can pass what you want to pass. That's the nature of it. That's how you become the government. It's not like there are a separate executive and a separate... So the only real check on government power is the court. Now, this reasonableness piece, the only thing that had been proposed, and were it negotiated in a different way, probably wouldn't have caused the stir that it's caused in Israel, but it's been proposed as a whole series of legislative changes that would limit the power of the courts. And that's partly because the courts have interfered, not statistically on a pretty rare number of cases, but on some cases that have been very important to settlers, to the ultra-Orthodox, to those who would like the government to be able to legislate certain things that might impinge on rights of minorities, right? And so the courts have done that, or in this case, to appoint somebody to, not in this case, but like in this government, they had a minister, Aryeh Deri, who had been convicted of financial crimes previously. In his plea bargain agreement, agreed he would never serve again in the Knesset, and then they appointed him to the Knesset, and the Supreme Court said that was unreasonable in the extreme, and said that he could not serve. And that's one of the things that this law is actually pointed to, that idea. Now they could appoint him, right? That would be the way that played out. So what I thought I would do today is share some reflections from my Israeli colleagues, meaning Reform rabbis in Israel. I should put up front that by and large, Reform rabbis in Israel are not politically balanced. If you were taking a politically balanced perspective, they tend to be center-left, right? In Israel, and the Reform movement has taken a very large role in the protest movement in Israel. Part of that is that many of the attacks that these laws actually protect are attacks on liberal Judaism, right, by the ultra-Orthodox and the legitimacy of liberal Judaism. And so the Reform movement has seen the attacks on the court, because the court has been the champion of non-Orthodox Judaism as also attacks on liberal Judaism in Israel, which is why the Reform movement has positioned itself the way it has on these issues. But you should know, as I read these, that there are obviously lots of opinions from the Israeli public that would also be different than these. And of course, the biggest opinion, if you've been listening to the Prime Minister in all his interviews today, is that, should a court make these decisions, or should an elected body make the decision? It is the most extreme government in Israel's history, but it was also freely elected. And nobody in Israel, even all those people on the streets, is claiming that the election was unfair or rigged or anything like that. It was a fair election. It didn't, and for all sorts of reasons that are part of the political system, both who turned out to vote, both the way the parliamentary system works and the number of votes that got lost in the system because of it, but that's who won. But it was a fair election, so that should be clear from the beginning. So Rabbi Alona Lisitsa, who's a Reform rabbi, said, when we asked, this was a question that we asked on our that a colleague asked on our rabbinic listserv, and then we asked if we could share their responses, and they all said yes, because it's a private listserv. We have to ask if we can share their responses. And the question is, what do you want us to say at our home congregations? And this is what they said. We have so much educational work to do here in Israel, and we need true partners. Rabbi Chaim Shalom said, I want you to talk about hope. I want you to talk about love. I want you to talk about how hard it is to see a country one loves choose a dangerous path of self-harm. I want you to make clear that democracy is not just the tiny, thin majority enforcing its will on the minority, and that is true wherever we are. There are universal moral truths that we cannot turn our backs on. This is the message of this week's Torah portion, Ve'et Hanan, which contains both the Ten Commandments and the Shema. The coming together of Aseret HaDibrot, the Ten Commandments, as a symbol of the most fundamental moral truths, and our credo of Shema Yisrael, a statement spoken to the particular, to Yisrael, the people of Israel, but focused on the universal, on Echad, that everything is connected, right? There's a oneness to everything in the universe. We turn to each other as fellow members of the people of Israel to remind each other of the oneness of creation. We are all in this together. Whenever one part of the human family falls, it affects us all. And so, yes, we all have a piece in this tragic outcome, but not equally. The people who will suffer most are those who are already the weakest: Palestinians, LGBTQ Israelis, women, the poor, the disadvantaged. These are the people who have lost some protection. Democracy is not just by the people and of the people. It must also be for the people, for all the people. This is part of a long abandonment of universal values, which the people of Israel have allowed to happen for too long. The loss of democracy for Israelis is the natural end of our giving up on democracy when we became comfortable with a never-ending occupation. But this is not the end. This is still Rabbi Chaim Shalom, not me, just so that you know. By the time Shabbat comes around, we will be on the other side of Tisha B'Av, and while that is a day of mourning, it is also a testament to our resilience, our tenacity, and our ability to continue to survive and to adapt. We shall overcome because we have hope and because we have love. Thank you for loving us. We love you, and we won't stop fighting for this country. Rabbi Rinat Safania. As you know, our country is burning. It is a sad and difficult afternoon here. Yet the protests brought many indifferent people out of the house to show how important this country is to them and how unwilling they are to give up on democracy, civil rights, and matters of religion and state. We really hope that this protest will also lead people to choose by their feet and join liberal movements like the Reform movement. We have a lot of work to do in all fields, and the road is long. The hope is 2,000 years old, and it does not end with one decision or another. There is a large movement of protest here, and alongside it, a large movement of people who want to continue holding hands despite all the differences. We as the Reform movement and the communities are here to hold on to hope, even when darkness seems to be falling. Rabbi Liora Ezrahi Vered. As hard as it is to see and watch from afar, the reality is certainly very, very, very concerning. There are also huge waves of people working for a better Israel, and that this is not the end, but a pit we can climb out of, like Yosef, like Joseph. Like all those who are struggling, we need friendship and solidarity more than ever. The rabbis and members of the Reform movement in Israel are on the front line. Rabbi Stacy Blank, do not despair. Continue to educate ourselves and our communities about the issues from both sides, to be leaders in dialogue, to delve into Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh B'Zeh, all of Israel is responsible for one another, to talk about the dangers of sinat chinam, of baseless hatred. What is Reform Progressive Judaism? How can we be supportive of Israel and supportive of Reform Progressive Zionist values? How important every single person is to the success of Israel, both to those of us who live here and those who live elsewhere. Od lo avda tikvatenu lihiot am chofshi be'artsenu. Our hope is not lost to be a free people in our own land. So this Shabbat, we turn traditionally to the Haftorah from the book of Isaiah. We read the words, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. Comfort, comfort my people. And these words remind us that amidst difficult times, we are called to be agents of comfort and reconciliation and of peace. And so, while we look with concern, sometimes with sadness, at some of the things that are going on in Israel, and we work to create an Israel that reflects the values that we want it to have, we also have to recognize the great miracle that is Israel. Even in these protest movement, it's been miraculous in many kinds of ways. You think about the numbers of Israelis now for 28 weeks who have come out onto the street. You'd be talking about millions of Americans who are out on the street from a proportional level. The truth is that while there are very different perspectives on this, and clearly I have a perspective on this, there's it's a competing vision in many ways for what a democratic Israel looks like, right? Is it more liberal democracy or more majoritarian democracy? What are the different checks and balances? How much should the legislature make decisions? How much should that legislature be checked? Really, I think all of these people are working for an Israel that they think will work. I think the question is, can if we're going to make big changes, can they be made with a broader consensus so that the society and the fissure in society doesn't continue to grow? Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. Give comfort on this Shabbat as we move in. And we will have a pause now, by the way, in all of this. The Knesset just went on recess till after the High Holy Days. So we all have time to breathe, right? In Israel, people have time to breathe. And to note, while there's a lot of concern and, this is all part of a slippery slope, that the law passed and Israeli democracy did not disappear this week, right? So while we continue to work and support our partners in Israel and do other kinds of things, we also don't want to describe a reality that doesn't exist, right? This is a battle that those who are on the progressive end of Israeli society have lost, but it's part of an ongoing effort about the future and the shape and what Israeli society will look like. So Shabbat Shalom to everybody, and I hope that in these weeks leading up to Rosh Hashanah, all of us find ways to walk toward comfort, toward wholeness, and to be able to stand together in a way and with wholeness and with pride to greet our new year. So now I'm going to pivot for a moment. So there's a whole, there's a group of folks here who are here to celebrate with Yvonne and Simon as they celebrate an anniversary together. And then Yvonne called me, and Simon was sick, so wasn't able to be here. But Simon is with us, there, by the wonders of technology, right? Simon is with us, and so I am going to invite, if I can keep my papers together, I'm going to invite Yvonne to join me up here. And offer a blessing to Yvonne and to Simon.
Thank you.
Hi, Simon. We love you.
Hi, son.
So, first of all, most of you, not all of you, but most of you know Simon and Yvonne in one way or another. And that already says a whole bunch about Simon and about Yvonne. They are such an important part and presence in our community. And we feel so blessed, Yvonne, that both of you have made this an important part of Temple Beth Israel, important part of your life. Simon has brought to us throughout the years not only just his deep menschlichkeit and commitment to the temple and to our Temple Beth Israel Brotherhood and mentorship of so many people in our congregation, but also, Simon, your unique heritage that he brings from a Baghdadi Jewish family via Calcutta and Burma, and chanting special melodies for us through the years and sharing his wisdom and all of those kinds of things. And Yvonne, you bring such life and love to everything that you do, and share with excitement all your new projects, or the things that you bake, or a new etrog that grew on the tree, or the various kinds of things. The two of you, in so many ways, have enriched the life of our community. And I know how much the two of you have enriched each other's lives for the last 2 decades. And so what an amazing blessing that the two of you, who each as individuals have so much to continually have so much to offer those around you, found each other to be able to share this journey with. And you have blessed each other and your families and us with just incredible, incredible blessings. And we hope to continue to be able to celebrate the two of you. Simon in good health, okay? And you too, in good health, and in celebration. And we are so thrilled that the two of you can celebrate this day that and this relationship that the two of you have built. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Holy One of blessing, whose presence fills creation, you have sustained us and you have given us life and sustained us and allowed us to reach this time. And may we continue to celebrate you and you in the days and years to come. Mazal tov. Mazal tov. And I said to Yvonne, should we put it off a week? And she said, all these people are coming. We can't do that. And I've got food for the oneg. So we have all of that. So, and they met at the temple. Yeah. So, I know on a very personal level that both Simon and Yvonne have blessed my life in so many ways. So I'm so deeply appreciative. All right. So we're going to turn now to Misha Berach, to our prayer for healing, which you'll find on page 253 in the middle of the page. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We ask for blessings upon Rebecca Gilman, Hannah Fields Austin, Sue Toback, Rosin Lefkowitz, Ellen Weinfeld, Pam Poliakoff, Kathleen Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Jennifer Rudin, Brad Holland, Serena Postal, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarski, Joan Morse, Nomi Kravitz, Mara White, Lori Snyder, Charity Razaday, Mike Klein, Barbara Fast, Joel Beasy, Gloria Foster, Rita Warshaw, Robert Gerard, Adele Harris, Brenda Found Gerard, Gian Marcus, Marla Fregosa, Al Shapiro, Jeff Nelson, Gina Eli, Robert Waldman, Barry Gustafero, Udique Gratz DeLang, Eva Laxon, Alda Mendoza, Sharna Blitz, Eli Wakefield, Rob Scher, Audrey Kubel, Deborah DeLang, James Stead, Rita Elias, Benjamin Jones, Stephen Gilbert, Sharon Zaki, Nell Barron, Karen Rosenthal, Oliver Holland, Rabbi Malka Middleman, and Sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. All right, I'd like to invite Lee Kane for her first announcements as a member of our Board of Trustees to share some announcements with you.
Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody. I'll keep my hands. Yeah. On behalf of the board, thank you all for being here, both in the sanctuary and online. Toda Rabah to Rabbi Kupitz for inspirationally leading our service as both rabbi and cantor tonight, and to Dr. Randy Polavoy for his lovely piano accompaniment. Also, much appreciation to Claudia Gonzalez, who handles our technology so expertly. I want to thank Simon Saul and Yvonne Cheney. Is that right, Cheney? And others who generously donated delicious items for tonight's oneg, and congratulations on your anniversary. I want to thank tonight's greeters. Outside greeters were Kylie Sykes. Lobby greeters were Phyllis Blackie, Lisa Hahn, Judy Rose, Sharon Regalado, and Debbie Harris. And the driveway greeter was our security guard, which I don't have a name for here. After the service, we gather in the social hall behind us for kiddush, motzi, refreshments, and conversation. Please take this opportunity to get to know someone new, which will help us continue to build our warm, personal Jewish community. We have a busy and engaged community here at TBI, and there are lots of ways that you can plug in, find your interest, and get involved. You can find more information than what I'm giving you here tonight on our weekly update, the Tekiah, that's emailed every Thursday, our monthly Kahila, and on our website and Facebook pages. I'll start by letting you know about the Adult Jewish Learning Committee and Women of TBI, who invite you to join them for a fun evening of summer play reading on August 9th from 6:30 to 8:30 in the TBI library. This evening will be led by Sarah Truitt. They'll be reading aloud 25 questions for a Jewish mother with a lively discussion to follow. Let's see, they have a few copies available if you haven't purchased the play, to use that evening by registering in advance and reserving one of the available copies. And you can RSVP to the TBI office at Tarragon at tbipomona.org by the 8th. Also, I want to thank all of you who have returned your pledge materials. Jay asked me to plug this one specifically. For those of you who haven't yet, please review them and return them as soon as you can. Your generous pledge keeps us moving forward and is our most significant source of income. You can complete your form and pledge online as well as by mail. And join us next week at 7:30 with the Shul Band and birthday blessings, and that's about it. Shabbat Shalom.
So we're going to turn now to page 282. In the middle of the page, for Aleinu L'Shabeach, I'll ask everybody who can comfortably do so to please rise. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon HaKol, Latet Gedula Leotze Breshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoye Haratzot, Velo Samanu Kamishbechot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem, Vegor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, Vanachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, page 287. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz vayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Page 294. We take a moment to remember those who have been important in our lives and have left this earth, those who have died in recent days or at this time in years past. We remember the recent deaths of Kristen Patra, mother of Petra Mack. We remember the Yortzites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Esther Grossman, Etta Jones, Sarah Solo Levitch, Bella Schulman, Nathan Zuckerman, Sheila N. Kaloff, Elizabeth Amanda Ewing, Harry Adis, John Thomas Lennox, Sarah Nathan, Evelyn Ray, Samuel Rizek, Marion V. Hone, Jean Levin, Seidel Wachtel, Monto Rosenthal, Nathan Weiner, Anseli Arzt, Benjamin Krieger, Celia Rose, Sandy Chase, Judy Goldberg, Sid Cooperberg, David Morse, Vanessa Regalado, Edward Schwartz, and Irv Strub. If you're remembering somebody on this Shabbat, you'd like to add their name to those that I've mentioned or restate a name I've mentioned, please feel free to do so as I come by your row. If you're in a time of mourning or observing a Yortzeit on this Shabbat, I invite you to rise. And I invite the rest of the congregation, if it's your custom, to rise in embrace and support of those who mourn. Again, Kaddish is on 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah v'yalma divrach irute v'yamlich malchute v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael b'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dukudusha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. We'll conclude with Biyado, 321, last stanza. Biyado afkid ruchi, be'tishan ve'aira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira. My soul I give to you. My soul I give to you. My spirit in your care. My spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Hold me in your hand. Draw me near. I shall not fear. Safely in your hand. Be'ado afkid ruchi. Be'ado afkid ruchi. Eitishan ve'ayira. Ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira. Ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira. For those who have joined us online, thank you so much for being with us. For those in the sanctuary, please join me in the social hall for Kiddush Motzi refreshments. Shabbat Shalom.